Okay. What's up, everyone? Hey, everybody. Welcome all my Real Talk Recovery family. Sorry for I look like a skank today, but I cannot be bothered right now. So tonight we are going to have a special guest speaker. She is a harm reductionist. Her name is Sarah, and she's going to join us here in a few minutes. And we are going to learn about harm reduction together, you guys. So I don't know if y'all knew this, but I'm trying to learn more about harm reduction and how I can practice harm reduction to help people that are struggling and that are still using. And so I've been watching a lot of people who have accounts dedicated to harm reduction. And I found this girl, her name is Sarah, and she has an account called Harm Reduction Services, and she makes some really good videos. And so what I thought we could do was have her on and have her teach us a little bit about harm reduction. Now, she can't stay for too long because she's got to close down the shop, because she literally works at a center where they practice harm reduction, okay? So as soon as she goes live, I'm going to invite her onto our stream, and then we'll get to asking her questions, okay? So that's what I'm going to have her do. Like, she's literally going to share with you guys what harm reduction is. Like, I told her to break it down for us from the base, like layman's terms. Yay. Hey, girl.
Hey, how are you?
Welcome. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm really excited.
Yeah, of course. I'm so excited too. Thank you so much. This is our first TikTok live. Very excited about it.
I'm popping your cherry, girl.
Yeah, and you're on it. I always see you on it too. So I'm like, you have so much experience. Like, I am ready to learn.
Yeah, I'm a live stream. I'm addicted to live streaming. Honestly, I love it because it lets me connect with my audience, and then I like building relationships with the people that follow me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I really like talking to people and helping them. But I was just telling everybody, I don't know a lot about harm reduction, and I'm trying to learn and do better, because I catch myself saying things that I've learned that are stigmatizing. And I even okay, so I work for Dr. B. Dr. B is a doctor in California that owns a treatment center, and he has a harm reduction institute. And so since I started working with him, I started learning about harm reduction, but I'm not there on site. I only travel there a couple of times a year. And so all the stuff I've learned is just from people like you here on the internet. So what I would like for you to do is, will you share with us what is harm reduction?
Yeah, great place to start. So there's kind of two definitions of harm reduction. One is just kind of generally, literally anything that reduces some sort of risk. So seatbelts, right? Seatbelts are harm reduction. Looking both ways before you cross the street, wearing a mask during COVID, sanitizing your hands. There's so many things that can reduce potential risks or health risks. And so all of those things could be considered harm reduction. But when you hear harm reduction, usually we're referring to sort of a more specific definition, which is mitigating health risks specifically for people who use drugs, sex workers, and people who live outside. And other groups too, but that's kind of the main groups that we focus on here at our Harm Reduction Center, and what a lot of other groups focus on. And there's a ton of different ways to do that. There's no one policy or program that is harm reduction, right? There's a million different ways. So we are a Syringe program. That is kind of, I think, one of the more well-known forms of harm reduction. You probably heard it described as a needle exchange.
Yeah.
That's but also MAT is a form of harm reduction, medication-assisted treatment, drug checking programs, safe consumption spaces, which we don't have in the U.S., but exist other places. Safe supply programs, again, we don't have in the US, but exist other places. So there's a million different ways that you can reduce harm. People give out condoms, right? Giving out survival supplies and mutual aid supplies to people who live outside. So there's really a lot of different things that can fall under that harm reduction umbrella.
Okay. All right. So you brought up a good point, because I made a video the other day and I was so proud of myself for making it, because it was about medication assisted treatment being a form of harm reduction, because I thought it was. And somebody messaged me and said that it's not a part of harm reduction. It is like a path to recovery. But I thought it was a form of harm reduction also.
Yeah, so I don't think, and that's the thing too, is I think people see like harm reduction and recovery as like in competition with each other, because I think people see, and it comes from a misconception of harm reduction as being like promoting drugs, right? So there's like people who promote drugs and people who promote abstinence, right? And that's not what harm reduction means at all. So harm reduction means that it's supporting people in their personal decisions and paths regarding, in this case, drug use, right? For some people, for many people, that involves abstinence, that involves recovery, that involves a path to sobriety. For many people, it does not involve that. It involves continued use. And harm reduction supports both groups, harm reduction or anything in between. Harm reduction says, if you want to use every day for the rest of your life, we support you, we love you, we'll try to give you all the tools and resources to keep yourself as safe and healthy as possible. If you would like to stop using, however you would like to do that, we will again support you in any way that you want to do that. So we actually have a MAT navigator on our staff at our syringe program. Is absolutely part of the harm reduction model, because, you know, if you say that harm reduction is for people who want to use drugs, people who don't want to use drugs, if you limit it to one type of people, then you're not gonna then you're not really harm reduction, right? Because you're not supporting people in what they're just deciding to do. Which is what harm reduction should be doing. Yeah.
So with this is how I explained it. So when me and my husband got on Suboxone, I was like super ready to get on Suboxone and stay sober and do the damn thing, and I did. I've been sober for 6 years. When my husband got on Suboxone, he wasn't in the same headspace I was, and he struggled. He stayed sober for like the first 2 or 3 years, like without picking up any other illegal drugs. But then after that, he started to relapse, and Suboxone helped him to not do opiates, so that way he didn't die. Like, he relapsed on like Xanax and over-the-counter sleeping medication. And so I was looking at it from the point of view that him being on MAT, it helped him to not die, and it was reducing the harm of him going out and relapsing.
Right, yeah, exactly. And many people do use Suboxone, methadone, other forms of medication-assisted treatment as reducing harm, right? And part of that is, I mean, it's kind of sad, because like the alternative to that is so dangerous, right? It doesn't have to be that way. It shouldn't be that way, but it is that way, right? That it's just a reality that the drugs that you buy on the street are a lot more dangerous than, you know, whether it's prescription opioids or Suboxone or methadone or whatever. But and a lot of that has to do with, you have no idea what's in it, right? There's obviously, you've heard of fentanyl, and that's a very common part of the drug supply right now. So yeah, many people use medication-assisted treatment as a way to reduce the harms of street drugs, or as a way, of stopping those sort of craving or withdrawal symptoms. It's absolutely, and like that, I think this brings also to a good point, is like, don't let anyone tell you like what is or isn't harm reduction for you, right? If that is something that you use to reduce harm, like, then it's harm reduction for you, right?
Yeah.
Even there's so much ego and stuff. It's like, it's not, if that's not what you did, that's fine, like whatever. But if that's working for someone, then support them.
That's what I feel like it is. And I'm glad that I have you on here tonight, because like, I'm super open-minded and I always want to learn. And so I'm always letting people know, like, if I say something that is like stigmatizing, or, you know, like adds to the stigma, please let me know and I'll change it. And what I've noticed is that since I opened myself up to being corrected and willing to learn, I've gotten a lot of like kickback from people that are practicing harm reduction, and I thought that they would be like super supportive of me because I want to learn more about harm reduction, but it's almost like they're territorial over it, and they don't want me to like do it too because I don't know. I would think that because my platform is pretty large, that people would be glad that I would be willing to want to learn more about it. But that's just the beef that I have with some other people in harm reduction community. That's not with you. But okay, so what I want you to do is, could you tell us? Okay, I saw some videos on your account where you're like dispelling myths about different things. First and foremost, I want to talk to you about, can you overdose from tension and fentanyl?
No, oh my God, no, you can't. I think this is you. See, you know the news here because I think I saw a video on your account about this too.
Oh, it drives me
Background
insane.
It's wild. This like the San Diego Police Department came out with a very produced video about one of their officers overdosing on fentanyl.
Yes.
Doesn't look like any overdose I've seen, but that's separate issue. But anyway, so they said that he touched some fentanyl, I think, or that I don't even know what the story was, that he touched it, I think, and then overdosed. That is not true. That does not happen. You cannot overdose from fentanyl by touching it. It is not aerosolized unless you are like inhaling like large portions of it, right? You cannot overdose on it from breathing. You cannot overdose from passive exposure. You would really have to like have large amounts of fentanyl for long periods of time in order to overdose without ingesting. So it's really, it's not an issue. I think I saw something on Twitter where a guy was like sticking his hand in a glass of wine and he's like gonna get drunk tonight, and it's like, it looks so silly, right? And it's like, it's like, that's not how fentanyl or
that's
most
not how
other
our skin works.
Substances,
our skin is
right?
To protect us because of that very reason. And then people are going and they're saying, well, carfentanil, you can touch carfentanil and overdose. And I'm like, it doesn't matter if it's fentanyl or carfentanil or whatever. And then they bring up and they say, well, the patches, that's because the patches are designed to be placed on your skin. And even, tell me this, even when you use the patches, it has to stay on your skin for a certain amount of time before it starts like releasing medication.
Yeah, and there's like, I mean, if you think about these things, like all fentanyl, its analogs, whatever, like these are used in medical contexts, right? Like doctors use like, so if they were dangerous to be around, right? Like they wouldn't be used in like during surgeries in medical contexts, right? It isn't, it's again, and I think that there's a lot of reasons for why that myth is perpetuated. Police departments want more funding, they want their jobs to seem more dangerous, stigmatizing drug users is another one. But
why did they do that? Like, why did you see the video? Did you see the video I uploaded on my TikTok where the guy, his officer, his like superior or something says, "Don't get too close to it. You can't be too close to it." And then the guy goes and falls over, and I'm like, "What happened?" He like had a panic attack.
Yeah, it's like either a panic attack is a generous read. It could be a panic attack. Yeah, it could be a panic attack. If you're responding to overdoses, signs of overdose, not like slowed or stopping breathing, unresponsive is a big one, losing color in their skin, things like that. Just like, and I mean, Narcaning someone like doesn't hurt them if they're not overdosing, so that's fine. Like you can Narcan them if you're not sure. That's not the issue that I have the part of the video that I have an issue with. So if you're in the situation and like, don't try to like figure out, like just use the Narcan or whatever. But right, if they're unresponsive, obviously, like if they're responding to you, they do not need Narcan. But the whole like the fentanyl thing, like that, you cannot overdose from fentanyl by touching it. That is a myth. Thank you for addressing that.
Okay, then also, can you share with us about how hepatitis C can be passed around?
Yeah, for sure. So hepatitis C, definitely a big sort of issue that affects people who inject drugs. It's spread through blood to blood contact. So which means that needles, sharing needles can be a way to transmit it. And like, unlike HIV, which dies pretty quickly once it leaves your body, hepatitis C can live on surfaces for multiple days.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why it's commonly spread through shared needles. So yeah, it's pretty common as far as health issues go in drug using communities. Getting tested for is a good idea if you do inject drugs, especially if you are sharing needles. We have testing here at our office. There's a rapid test that you can be in and out with your results within 30 minutes. But yeah, it's one reason I think a lot of people too see needle exchanges as like preventing one thing. It's like HIV, right? But there's a lot of reasons for harm reduction programs. HIV is one reason, hepatitis C is another reason, overdoses are another reason, abscesses are another reason. There's a lot of reasons why people need fresh supplies and why it's important that we have that level of funding too. Because just because a harm reduction program exists doesn't mean that it's able to provide everything that a community needs. And that's especially true. I mean, we're in California, so we're pretty lucky with that. I mean, we're not
Yeah.
well funded at all, but we at least have like some support, from the government. A lot of places don't have that support. And that's really an issue right now with the naloxone shortage. But anyways, you were saying with
You
hepatitis
guys,
C.
what do y'all
Yeah.
provide at your office? Like, let's say I was a person who is a IV user, homeless. What can I get when I come to your office? What happens there?
Yeah, so I'd love to give you a tour, but we're actually open right now, so I can't like be around videoing as people are in the building. But we have a front counter. You just sort of walk in anytime during open. You don't have an appointment, nothing like that. You just walk in anytime we're opening hours. We have a menu so you can see what you want. I brought things to show. I don't know if TikTok will let us show. Can I show these things?
Yeah.
Do you think? Okay. I
I've
know that like
showed,
they take down our videos sometimes when we show these, so I wanted to
I've
ask.
showed
But
syringes like on my. I just don't take the cap off and show like the
okay,
needle part of it, but I've showed because I
okay,
had to go to the pharmacy and get my dog insulin needles. And this is a good topic. Back in the day
yeah,
here in Arkansas, they wouldn't let me buy syringes when I was in active addiction. The
yeah,
pharmacist would literally deny me the
yeah,
syringes. So
yeah.
the other day I went to get syringes and I said, I remember coming here in active addiction, and y'all wouldn't sell me a little 3-pack or whatever of them, and now I bought
Mm-hmm.
100-pack, a box of
Oh,
them.
nice. Okay,
You know,
awesome.
and I asked
Yeah.
the pharmacist. I said, "Why is that?" And basically, it's at their discretion here. They can choose to
Mm-hmm.
deny you if they want.
Yeah, it's the same in California. Actually, it's discretion based, which sucks because like, I mean, there's a cost issue, right? So if you don't have a script, if you don't get a prescription for syringes because you're diabetic or fertility treatments or whatever, then you'd have to pay out of pocket, even if the pharmacy does choose to give them to you or sell them to you. So that's an issue. That's one reason for harm reduction programs, is just because we give it out for free, and so some people can't afford them. But even people who can afford them do come here because no one will sell them to them.
Yeah.
Which is wild because in California, the pharmacies are allowed to sell them to anyone. You don't need a script, but the pharmacists have discretion, and a lot of times they exercise their discretion. A couple reasons for that: one, just a stigma against drug users, and the other is because they don't want to, because it's kind of expensive to dispose of used syringes, and
Uh huh.
don't want to be responsible for disposing of the used ones, which is kind of like, okay, like, it's like you'd think that pharmacists would be more sympathetic with public health measures, but not
Right.
always, not always. But yeah, so what we give out, we have so syringes are obviously a huge part of our work. We give around 2.5 million every year. I brought some like demo stuff I can show you.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Show
so we have
us.
different sizes. We have like the IV syringe. Sorry, I know some. If warning, you're about to see a
Trigger
bunch of
warning,
syringes and
y'all.
drug stuff.
There you
Yeah,
go.
if that's not your thing, then very sorry. But yeah, so we have these different sizes. So yeah, these are just our demo ones. But yeah, so you have different gauge options, different barrel options, length, whatever you
I saw
need.
your
We also
video. I want to say I saw your video about the different sizes of the gauges, and
yeah.
like for a person who is using that has smaller veins, they can get the smaller gauge so they don't damage their veins. When I was actively using, I was just so desperate that I had gotten this medical syringe that was a like from the army, and it had the big barrel like that
Good.
wide,
Yeah.
and the needle on
Yeah.
it was as thick as a pencil lead.
Ooh,
And that's how
yeah, those
desperate I was,
hurt.
you
Yeah.
know? And I actually
Yeah.
caught hepatitis C because
Hmm.
of my desperation and not having access to clean supplies, clean syringes.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that. Yeah, huge. That's a huge reason why we're here, and a huge reason why harm reduction is important. Is like it's just really unexcusable that people don't have access to these supplies, and it's putting people through a lot of misery that they don't need to be going through. Right? Like, no
Yeah,
one needs to be like. This is not like everyone. You know, people will leave all sorts of nasty comments like, "Oh, they chose to use drugs. They choose this." But no, you do not have to have abscesses and vein damage and tissue damage and all of that stuff. Like a lot of that is caused by our refusal to provide basic supplies to people, and it doesn't have to be that way. It really doesn't. Do you
why do
suggest
you
scales to
think
be?
that?
Hmm?
Why do you think people are so judgmental when it comes to harm reduction and wanting to provide those services and those like resources for people? I don't see why people get so upset about it. What I hear is, oh, you're enabling that person to continue in their addiction. What do you think about that argument, the enabling the person argument?
Yeah, I mean we hear that a lot, and I mean it doesn't really bother me, but I think that a lot of it just really comes with this like kind of psyche that we have in this country that like everyone's on their own, that we don't need to look out for each other, that no one deserves a handout, no one deserves like things for free. Everyone's bothered. A lot of people are bothered by the fact that we give this stuff out for free when other essential things aren't free, and it's like those things should be free too. We're not this is not a competition. Like you don't need to put down people who use drugs because some other vital medicine isn't free, right?
Right.
um but yeah, I think that the whole enabling argument, right? Like we're not. I mean, studies have just proven this like a million times, by the way, that like harm reduction programs do not increase drug use in the neighborhoods. Like the availability of like harm reduction supplies like does not generally influence whether someone will use drugs or not, right? There's a lot of factors that go into whether or not someone will use drugs. That isn't really one of them, and we're not. People see it as like there's these two worlds, right? It's like either people aren't using drugs, now you give them a syringe and they are using drugs, and that's not the two worlds, right? Either
Right.
both worlds people are using drugs, right? This world they don't have the syringe, this one they do. So it's not. I mean, I think people have a really just like don't even get it, especially people who aren't exposed to drug use a lot or don't have, that's not in their family or.
Oh my gosh, hold on. Did I just lose her? Can you hear me?
Yeah, just like stopped.
Can you?
Understand
There
everything,
you
but
go.
just don't. Yeah,
I
just
couldn't hear you
don't
for a
stop
second.
stigmatizing people. What's
Go
that?
ahead. I couldn't hear you for a second. I was like, hello,
Oh,
hello.
sorry.
Go ahead. You're okay. You're
Sorry.
okay.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
All of a
Yeah.
sudden,
It's
it
like
just
we don't.
dropped. Go ahead.
Huh. Okay. It's probably my phone. Honestly, my phone's so old. But but yeah. So it's just like harm reduction is a lot of it is about just like empathizing with people and sort of accepting people where that they're at, and a lot of people have a hard time doing that, as I've learned in my comment section.
I think you do
uh,
amazing. Like, I wanted to ask you about the myth that the video you made about people getting Narcan and then waking up and start punching people in the face. Why do people say that happens? I mean, I'm sure it can happen, but why would someone say that? It's almost like they want people to not get the help or something, you know?
Yeah, I think a lot of those stories are kind of exaggerated, and I think a lot of that does come from like EMTs, especially, because first of all, like EMTs usually use like a way higher dose of naloxone than you need to, and you might think like, oh, just pump them full of naloxone, get as much as you can into their system, but that's actually really not how you should do it. Right, you do like just small doses at a time, usually 0.4 milligrams through the muscle or 4 milligrams through the nose. And you wait a couple minutes, you do another one. You wait a couple minutes, you do another one. You do that way versus a lot of times EMTs will just pump them full, 5 doses of Narcan at the same
Yeah.
time. So a lot of times when people are waking up, from being like when EMT responded, right, they've used too much Narcan. Now they see someone in front of them who's wearing a uniform, which looks suspiciously like a cop uniform,
Right.
right?
Like the cops
And
or
so
something.
it's like that's right, exactly. So it's like a scary situation to be in, right? And so I think that those like people who their overdoses are responded to in that way are probably generally more uncomfortable than people who are responded to by like friends and loved ones. But yeah, and then I think that the EMTs have like a lot bigger platform, right, on especially on things like social media than people who use drugs do, right? And so I think people listen to medical professionals a lot more than they listen to people who use drugs about their experiences, right? So then those EMTs get on here and say like, look, they were so angry at me, and it's like that's not the whole picture. And like being Narcan sucks, right? Like it does suck. Like I'm not gonna like sugarcoat that, right? Like it's blocking your opioid receptors, which saves your life, but it also puts you into withdrawal. It makes you extremely uncomfortable, and you can't make it go away. Like it stays there until it wears off. So I think that like just having some empathy, right? Like yes, some people might react in like you're fine. In kind of an uncomfortable way, but like there's a reason for that, right? They're not being like people paint like to paint pictures, right, of people who use drugs as being like these like
violent
crazy irrational people,
who are like
exactly, like violent, like scary, exactly.
Yeah.
And that's just not right. It's an uncomfortable situation, and like it's okay to express that discomfort, right? And just have a little empathy for that. But many people don't. Many people are not upset or uncomfortable at all. Even some people aren't, some people aren't. So it's just, you know, I think there's a lot of sensationalizing for sure.
Yeah. Can you share with us like some like the terminology that, like, I know for me, I'm trying to get away from referring to people as addicts and stop referring to myself as an addict. I always introduce myself now as, hi, my name's Nicole and I'm a person in recovery. What kind of language do you use in harm reduction?
Yeah, for sure. I just want to say too that like our language is still developing too. Like it's not. I mean, just now, like I used to call us a needle exchange, right? That's what our participants called it. That's what I called it when I was right. So it's like I feel like people, and that's what I've always heard of it as. And then when I came on here, people in the harm reduction community were telling me don't use that term. It's not a needle exchange because it's not like a 1-for-1 exchange. That gives people the wrong idea. You should say things like harm reduction center or syringe access program. So I just want to like be perfectly clear that like none of us have like figured it all out, and like stuff, like we're all developing, and as long as you have that willingness to develop, I think then that's a great place. Also want to be 100% clear that people can refer to their own experiences however they want to. I mean, yes, we do use certain language and avoid other language, but we would never tell someone who has had a certain experience not to describe that experience in a way. Like you can choose whatever language that you want for yourself.
I'm talking about myself and my experience. Like
right, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Okay, so like when I say something, I'll say like, you know, I used to be a tweaker because I was a tweaker, but I wouldn't call someone else that. You know what I mean?
Experience. Exactly. Okay. And like there are a lot of, and the ways in which those words are used against like people, whether it's sex workers or people who use drugs or whoever, is much different than the ways in which those communities use those words themselves, right?
Yes.
Like the term like prostitute, right, is generally like you should call someone a sex worker, right, if they're not, but the many sex workers call themselves prostitutes, right? And that's like okay, that's like them referring to their own experience and contextualizing their own experience in a certain way. So yeah, as far as like what terms we do and do not use, generally when we're talking about people, we say people who use drugs, right? And also I think that there's so we don't say like addicts, obviously, or any like yeah, as far as like what terms we do and do not use, generally when we're talking about people, we say people who use drugs, right? And also I think that there's so we don't say like addicts, obviously, or any of those other like just by meeting them or looking at them, and you can't know that someone. So first of all, we call it substance use disorder, not addiction. But second of all, like you don't know that someone has a substance use disorder because you know that they use drugs, right? Not everyone who uses drugs has a substance use disorder. Many people use drugs in ways that are not disordered, right? So there's that separation. And then there's also, yeah, we just try to avoid using any term that could sort of have a stigmatizing history when we're talking about other people, not necessarily our own experiences. So for, yeah, like sex workers, that's mean calling sex workers. For people, we call people like unhoused or people who live outside. I know that like many people like the term homeless and use that for themselves, that's obviously very fine. Some people kind of take offense to that and that term. And obviously there's other terms too that have been used very negatively to describe people who live outside. So yeah, we just try to use like sort of terminology that that doesn't have a history of stigma. Even if people use that for themselves, we absolutely support that and whatever. We just like wouldn't use that when talking about our participants or sort of anyone else.
Participants. Yes. So that
Yeah,
was
participants. That's another one. Yeah, we call people participants. That one is more just because like clients, like we didn't really feel like client was appropriate because we're not like prescribing anything to anyone. We're not telling people what to do. We're not like, client is like, I'm an expert, you listen to me, right? Participant
right.
is like, you're here, you're making the decisions about your own health, your own life, and like we can be a supportive role in that.
How did you get into doing harm reduction? How did you get like certified to do that? Do you get certified? Is it like go into like peer specialist training or anything like that?
I do like have a certification. It's not like for harm reduction. I'm like, so we are certified through like the State Office of AIDS to do like HIV, AIDS, and Hep C like education and test counseling. So like that part of our job we have to be certified for. But other than that, no. A lot of people ask me this too. I didn't realize like how many people wanted to work in harm reduction until like I got to check, and people comment all the time like, oh, I want to work here.
On TikTok, it's like I honestly, until I came to TikTok, I didn't hear a lot about harm reduction except for from my boss because they have the harm reduction. They do it every Monday from like 12:30 to 6:30 in Santa Ana. And that was the first time I even learned about it or got to be a part of it and got to help. And it was honestly, I had to like, it was my first time ever working there and like helping people that were coming in. And I had to walk away because I was so emotional about the situation that people were coming in there and the where they were at. They were like one girl was pregnant and she brought in a backpack full of sharps to change in to get clean ones, and her boyfriend were just, I could just tell like I wanted to take them into my house and help them right away, you know what I mean? And my boss was like, you can't do that, like we're just here to support them where they're at.
Yeah.
Because even though if I was trying to be kind, it's like me approaching them and being like, you can do this, you can get sober, you can change your life. Like what if they're not, what if they're not wanting to get sober? What if that's not what they are trying to do? What if they're happy where they're at?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And like these things change over time too. Maybe one day someone, like that's a big thing with our program because we have in the same office a MAT navigation program and a Syringe program, and we want to make it very clear to people that if you enroll in MAT, if you like get into the MAT program, a month later it's not working, you are more than welcome to come back to the Syringe program, right? Like those two things, like I think people see it as like there are people, as like those two things are incompatible, but like there could be a million things that are a part of your personal journey with substances, and if you right now do not want to be using substances, or that's the reality that you're living in right now, then we are not going to try to change your mind or not going to try to push you towards abstinence, because yeah, it's your decision, it's your life, and you're not like it's not anyone else's role to tell you like what. There are a million reasons why people use substances, and they're all rational reasons, right? Whether it's pain or trauma or joy or pleasure or whatever it is, whatever the role of that substance is in your life, like nobody else is living your life and they can't tell you that that's not a valid reason, right? So just trusting people and their experience, that they know what's best for them, and they know, and making yourself available for them to ask all sorts of questions, right? Whether that's asking how to use less or whether that's asking how to use more and be safe with it, right? Like if you only make yourself available as one type of like, oh, I can help you use less or whatever, then people who don't want to use less aren't going to come to you, right? And they're not going to receive, syringes that will help them stay safe. They're not going to get tested and know their status, and they're not going to get Narcan from you and save people's lives, right? Like, you need to be able to meet people wherever they're at, and that really means like wherever they're at, no matter what your personal idea is of where they should be, right?
That's what I want to do. That's why I'm trying to learn more about harm reduction, because so when I first started first started helping people, I've come so far. I used to be a diehard AA 12-stepper, to the point where I would literally get on my soapbox and be like, if you don't work the 12 steps, you'll die. And it was bad, girl. It was bad.
A lot of that out there, yeah.
And I did that for like a year and a half, and then one day I was going to bed, and I had this like thought in my mind that I was pushing people away, and that what I thought was helping people was scaring people away from me. And so I was like, I got to do something different. I'm going to change up my delivery. And so I started delivering my message more like calmer and kinder and more open-minded, and it changed everything for me. And it opened up so many, like, people started coming to me and trusting me and actually like utilizing me, and all of that, because I didn't realize that, you know, the closed-mindedness of the 12-step fellowship AA for me, it was just, it automatically put this thing on me that people were like, I can't go to her, she's going to judge me.
Yeah.
Because I relapsed, or I'm not abstinent. I can't ask her for help. And so now I'm trying to learn more about harm reduction, and I feel like every time I try to learn, I suck at it. So will you tell us what are some harm reduction steps to help people who are using opiates, people that are using stimulants, that kind of thing? Tell us about that.
Yeah, for sure. So there's like a gazillion ways to approach harm reduction, right? So generally, when we talk about harm reduction for drugs, there's three different sort of categories, right? There's safer use. There's managed things like using fresh syringes, right? Or using fresh injection supplies, using a cotton filter, right? Washing your area before you inject, right? Testing with fentanyl test strips, having Narcan on hand, like that type of thing is a safer use. Managed use is sort of changing your use patterns without moving towards abstinence. So that could mean like smoking instead of injecting, and smoking is generally like less risky than injecting. Could mean using less of the drug, or it could mean doing it less often, or you know, a variety of different ways where you're not trying to be abstinent, but you're just kind of changing your use patterns a little bit. And then moving towards abstinence, you could try to reduce or stop your use altogether. So all three of those categories sort of fall into what we consider harm reduction. And for both opiate stimulant users, whatever your drug of choice is, like, there is a way for you to do that, right? Whether you're if you're and then that really is like defined by what you're looking for, right? And a lot of that is defined like by what context you're in. Like, maybe you're losing your veins, right? And you're it's like, really painful. Like, how we can try to help you manage that, right? Like, maybe we're working on switching veins, right? Maybe we're working on figuring, like, sometimes injecting with your non-dominant hand is hard, right? So strengthening that hand, learning how to do that so you can do it in different spots, right? Like, there's so many ways to approach it, right? And you really have to be able to sort of get creative and work at where people are at. And it's not just like give someone a fresh syringe, right? We don't use the words clean, by the way, or dirty. That can be stigmatizing.
If I came there and I was actively using, and I had an abscess on this arm, and I was struggling with this arm, would y'all help the person and show them like how to do it safely, or do you not do that?
Yeah. Okay. No, for sure. Yeah, we do injection counseling. So we help people like figure out generally they tell
training
us
how to do it the right way so they don't hurt themselves.
So we can't we can give them, they tell us what's going on, we give them advice on how to change up their injection technique or do whatever it is that they need to do. We cannot watch them consume drugs. That's part of the issue. Being in the United States, a lot other countries have this. Canada, there's an account on TikTok, I think it's called Overdose Prevention Jules, where she works at a safe consumption site. So if you're interested in that, you can sort of follow her and see how that works. We would love to be there. That would be great. Safe
That's
consumption,
awesome.
so you can actually consume. Exactly, you can consume on site. It's super helpful for people who don't have housing, who don't have to now because trying to set up a sanitary injection space outside is difficult, right? So it's having spaces where you're not worried about harassment, you're not worried about police, you're not worried about, you have a sanitary environment, you're not worried about no one responding if you overdose, right? So it's a safe environment. It's called safe consumption or safe injection sites. We would love to safe environment. It's called safe consumption or safe injection sites. We would love to be when we're not.
Why does my phone keep freezing?
But we can absolutely give them tips, or exactly, if they have abscesses, we have abscess care supplies. We have a free clinic that treats abscesses. That's harm reduction focused doctors. That was named after a woman in our neighborhood who died because she wouldn't seek treatment for an abscess because she had been treated really badly by doctors because of her drug use. So it is a very real issue. Medical discrimination is a very, very real issue.
Believe me.
And I'm sure you're
I've
experienced
it before. I mean, I've been turned away when I was legitimately needing help and not even treated at the emergency room because I was in my active addiction, which is absolutely horrible. Can you share a little bit? Because I know you got to go because you got to close down the shop. Will you share with us harm reduction for sex workers?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, it's definitely near and dear to my heart. But so we give out obviously condoms, lube, any sort of barriers that you might need, dental dams, and sort of condoms, whatever. That's sort of I guess one of the most popular harm reduction interventions for sex workers. Also, obviously testing, HIV, hepatitis C, that type of thing. We also have pepper spray. We give out pepper spray for sex workers. We don't have this here. I used to go to a harm reduction band that used to give us warm leggings and stuff if we're doing street walking at cold days. There's any again sort of anything that can help keep someone safer. So kind of getting creative, phone cards, or making sure that someone has an ability, they have an ability to communicate with other people at their location, right? Having networks. We have one of the big things that we have.
What about women checkups down there? Do y'all refer people to a doctor, or OBGYN, or anything like that?
Yeah, so we have an OBGYN that comes to our clinic who can do those types of services. That's for
great.
Sure. We give out yeast infection meds. I know that's a common issue. One of the sort of a big harm reduction thing that we have for sex workers, we have what's called bad date sheets here. It's if someone if a sex worker does get assaulted, or someone refuses to pay, or whatever it is, if they have a date that doesn't go well, then they can sort of fill out this sheet. It gives the information of what the person looked like, what the area they were in, how they encountered them, right, what car they were driving, license plate, any of that information that they know, and then we circulate that with other people doing sex work in that area, so it's so they have an idea of to watch out for those
that way
people.
They don't get caught up by the same person, and they
right, because a lot of people do a lot of people are habitual sort of with that type of thing. If they do it to one person, they'll do it to other people. So yeah, lots of different ways to approach harm reduction.
I absolutely love. I kind of got choked up a little bit whenever I wanted to ask you more questions. I should have wrote them down, but. Is there anything that you want to share with people that are on the live right now before you go, that anything about where you work, or just anything at all? I'm going to let you take the floor until you got to go.
Okay, well, I guess the last thing is I'm super glad to be here and be doing this live. Thank you so much for hosting this. I think why I really wanted to do this in particular is because there's an idea, I think you talked about it earlier, in the harm reduction community, and also definitely in the recovery community, that harm reduction and recovery are incompatible. And I just really love that we're on here and doing this and saying that's not true at all. you can have any sort of recovery job, like a mat job or whatever, and really support people who are actively using. You can have a harm reduction job and really support people who are trying to stop using. And you should, in both cases, do those things because, again, right, this is about people's autonomy, their ability to make choices for themselves, and their ability to be supported and loved in their community, no matter what their choice is. So super glad to be here. Thank you so much for opening the space for us to be here. There's last, I guess, little plug. A lot of people see your TikToks and like, oh, I really wish I had this where I was. You might actually. There's a lot more harm reduction programs than people know about. I think there's over 300 in the United States. So NASEN.org, that's NASEN.org, the National North American Syringe Exchange Network. NASEN.org.
NASEN,
They have a map of all of they have a map of all the ones like that are above ground in the United States, and you can enter your zip code and it'll tell you the closest one to you. So yeah, check it out in your city. There are resources available no matter what your relationship with substances are, and you deserve to be respected and loved and supported no matter what your relationship with substances are.
Amen.
So thank you so much for having us on. Really appreciate this so much.
Thank you. I'll get you on again though, because I do want to have you on again where I'm going to write down the questions I have next time, so that way I'll be able to stay on track with it. But thank you so much. And like, that's why I wanted to do this, because I want people to know that I support them. If you're still using, you could come here and hang out with us. Nobody's going to judge you here. Nobody's going to kick you out of the meeting. Like, I want people that are using that. I want them to come here and hang out with us. I don't want them to feel like they're different or can't be included because they're using. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to be separated from those people because those are my people. I was once just like that. And if you don't want to get sober, that's okay. I can still have you here and be supportive of you. So.
Exactly. Awesome. Well, thank you so much. Thank you for supporting harm reduction. We appreciate you.
You're welcome. Have a great day. Rest of the day at the work, and I'm going to let everybody know to follow you, okay?
All right. Bye.
Bye, girl.
Bye.
Hey, no judgment zone. That's right. Okay, you guys, I should have wrote down my questions. I feel like I forgot so many things that I wanted to ask. But anyway, so I hope anybody that's watching this right now, I know it made me so mad. I don't know what's going on, you guys. I hope anybody that's watching this right now that is still using, and even if you don't ever want to stop using, I hope you know that you can come here and be with us. I know I talk about a lot of recovery stuff because that's like my job, and I really enjoy helping people. What's your fly on me? Helping people find recovery. But I do respect people's choices. Like, if you still don't want to be in recovery, I'm not going to shame you for that. You know what I mean? And I think that a lot of people don't understand in the recovery community, just because somebody is using still doesn't mean that they're not worthy of our love and support. And now, do I want to be hanging out with you if you're shooting up right in front of me? It makes me feel a little uncomfortable. You know what I'm saying? But if you're actively using and you are trying to improve your life, or you don't care about improving and you just want to hang out with us, like, I want you to come hang out with us. When I was active, you would just ask me if I got help yet. Yeah, and because here's the thing, you guys, like, if you come here to hang out with us, I'm assuming that you're trying to get help because I talk about recovery all the time. But I guess I shouldn't assume, because there might be some people that don't want to get help, and that's okay too, you know? Yes, I'm trying to learn more and more and more about harm reduction. And you know, I want you all to go follow her account. Her account's called Harm Reduction Services, and go watch her videos. You'll see what I'm talking about. They have like a place where people who don't have a place to live can get mail. They have a way to help you fill out to get your ID if you need an ID. They have, like I said, clean syringes, cookers, all the stuff that you need, bottles of water, electrolyte little packages. They just have all kinds of stuff that you would need if you were, you know, out there. It's really, really awesome, you guys. Yeah, you missed the guest. And so there's a harm reduction. I just learned that there's one here in Arkansas, but it's not like that one. Yeah, so when I was in my active addiction, I guess I'll go ahead and share a little bit with you guys before I get off here. Harm Reduction Services is her account name. When I was in active addiction, you guys, I did not have access to clean syringes. Every time I would try to go buy clean syringes, they would not give them to me. The lady would deny me the clean syringes. Okay, so guess what I did? I used the same syringe over and over and over and over again until I broke needles off in my arm, y'all, because they were so dull. And I have hepatitis C. There should be no reason why a person that is paying money at the pharmacy should be denied syringes. Okay? There's no reason for that. I was a paying customer, you know. Another thing that happened to me, and that I wasn't practicing harm reduction in my life, was I caught 3 STDs when I was in my active addiction. I was in my active addiction, and the guy that I was with cheated on me, and I caught gonorrhea, chlamydia, and trichomonas. And if I had been wearing protection, then I wouldn't have caught those things. But here's the other side of that coin. This is somebody that I had been with for like 2 years, and I trusted him. You know what I'm saying? And so you could go to this place, the harm reduction place that she works at, and they can help you to get treatment for an STD. Okay? You can go there, and you don't have to worry about anyone judging you. Okay? So anyway, I think it's awesome, dude. I wish I could work 24/7 at a place where I could be there to support people. It is hard for me because I get very emotional when I see people that are using still, because in my mind, I associate using with not good things, right? Because for me, using drugs was horrible. For me, when I was using, I was hurting inside. I didn't love myself. I was insecure. But I'm trying to work on it and realize that not everyone that is using feels like that. You know what I'm saying? It's hard for me, guys, because I just think about getting high as this horrible thing that ruined my life. But I just want to be supportive of everyone. I hope you guys know that. Like, I'm really working hard here to bring you guys support and to bring you guys live streams that are live streams where you can learn, where you can like get connected. And you know, like last night Chrissy came on. Chrissy's story, man, when she was talking about her kids, I could just relate to her. I felt so much of her pain not being able to be around her kids and leaving her kids, you know. You can get hepatitis C because it sits up on the surface of things. Yes, we need to support each other no matter what stage we're at, whether it's in active addiction, whether it's in recovery, whether you're in the middle and you don't know if you're going to do that yet. Like, we should all be supporting each other. And, you know, I see a lot of stuff here on TikTok where people are just so worried about what other people are doing for their recovery, you know? Like, I don't care if you're taking kratom or smoking marijuana or using MAT. Like, I really could care less, because your body, your choice. I'm going to do what's right for me. You know what I mean? And that's what I've had to learn, is that it's not my business how someone else recovers. It's not my place to put my nose in that situation, you know? Hey, Kinder Ketamine, what's up? So, anyway, I'm learning, y'all. I'm learning, and I've come a long way. For those of you guys that have just met me since I've been on TikTok, honey, you should have met me 4 or 5 years ago. When I first started telling my story, I was really into the 12 steps, okay? And it's not that the 12 steps are a bad thing, but what was happening was I was so into them that it was almost like an obsession. And instead of being open-minded and supportive, back then, if you guys had found me, I would have said, if you smoke medical marijuana, you're not sober. If you're utilizing kratom, that's not recovery. Psychedelics, out of the question. Like, I was so close-minded to any other path except for my path, which was MAT. Isn't that crazy? But I'm serious. That's how I was seriously closed off to those things. And then one night I was just chilling out and I was going to sleep, and I don't know what happened, but something happened and it made me realize that I was pushing people away, and that people didn't feel like they could come to me. And that's all I want, people to be able to know that they can come to me if they need help. And I felt horrible. I felt horrible because I felt like I was pushing people away who needed me. And I never meant to be judgmental. I never meant to be judgmental, but I was being judgmental. How could I be judgmental to people when I'm on Suboxone, you know? And, but that's how it was. I was being so judgmental to other people, and I was pushing people away, you know? Oh man, I'm so proud of you for stopping though, ketamine. I'm proud of you. I didn't realize how aggressive I was being with recovery. And so I'm still kind of aggressive, but y'all have no idea how much I've changed. Like, I'm so much more open-minded. And here's the thing, you guys, like, if I'm not helping you, then if it's hurting you, then I don't need to be doing it. My opinion, it has no place in recovery. My opinion of your pathway to recovery is null and void. And that's what you guys have to start realizing about other people and their opinion of your recovery. Opinions have no place in recovery. Okay, we're all trying to stay alive and stay healthy, right? And so we should all be supporting each other and loving each other and not worrying about our opinions. You know what I mean? And so that's what I had to learn. Rick, love you, man. That's what I had to learn, man. I had to learn that my opinion doesn't matter. If it's helping someone, then I want to be there for them, you know, and that's what I had to learn. I'm telling you guys 100%, it's taken me so long to learn that because I was so passionate, right? And what happens is my passion can kind of get misdirected, you know. But I will tell you guys this, like, I just want you guys to be safe and healthy, and I don't want you to die. And I've had friends and many people that have tried to come to me for help who have lost their battle to addiction, who have died. And that's the hardest thing, you guys, for me to see. Oh, yes, ma'am. I've been sober for 6 years. It's the hardest thing for me to see whenever I see someone that came and they fell off and then I never hear from them again. And it's because they died, you know, and that's hard, man. That's hard. Like these last girls that passed away that I was helping, Rachel and Hannah, dude, I'm telling y'all right now, like, that was the hardest thing in the world for me to have them girls die. Like, that was horrible. And that's what happens more times. I'll tell y'all this, more people disappear than get sober. And that's what's hard, is because you guys will reach out to me and I'll hear from you a couple times and then you'll just disappear. You know what I mean? And I'm like, and here's the thing, I'll even be talking to other people and be like, hey, do you remember so-and-so? And for instance, ketamine, where have you been? You hadn't been in the chat in forever. Who else came into the chat the other day that I hadn't seen in forever? And I wonder, like, where did that person go? Are they okay? You know what I'm saying? I notice when you guys aren't coming around because I look for you guys to make sure y'all are all right, you know? And I work really hard to build a relationship with y'all. I'm looking at your comments. When you come in here, I'm looking at your comments. I am gaining so much respect from people now. I am in recovery. Hey, that's what's up, Caitlin. Thank you. I don't want to say your name wrong, but I think it's Pinche. Pinche Lean. Thanks, Nicola Mitchell. I will look more often, don't worry. Yes. Welcome. And I'll tell you guys this, like, we are building a fucking whole ass community over here. Like, I'm telling you, I'm so proud of you guys. I seen y'all welcoming people coming in. Like, that's what I want us to do. Like, when we see somebody come in that we hadn't seen coming around, we'll welcome them in. Let them know that they can come in here and hang out with us. You know what I need to do? We need to do our meditation. So let me go in here and we'll do our meditation before we go to bed, okay? That way people know, hey, what's up? I can come here. This is my place. This is y'all's place, okay? This is for all of us to be a part of the crew. Okay, let's do this. Y'all ready? Okay, meditation time. Meditation time. Come on in, everybody. Okay. Oh, mercy. I do this. This helps me too, just so y'all know. So today's August 12th. Tomorrow's August the 13th, y'all. JoJo's coming on to tell her story. Friday the 13th, Sober JoJo's going to be on with us. She's going to share her story time. Okay? Okay, here we go, y'all. It is beautiful, isn't it, Renee? Okay, here we go. Hey, Kimmy, I see you, girl. Hey, self-isolated, I see you too. August 12th, my dears, August 12th. A particular incident reminds me of the sense of surrender that I feel when I truly take the third step and turn my will and my life over to the care of my higher power. So the third step is taking your will and your life and turning it over to a power greater than yourself. Some years ago, my sister discovered that she had a brain tumor. Her initial diagnosis was dire, also fortunately inaccurate. When I heard about my sister's choice for treatment, I felt that she should pursue certain avenues that she had ruled out. I grew increasingly impatient with her choices until I read a commentary by a person I respect, suggesting that the avenues I had been championing could do more harm than good. That's when I realized the limits of my own understanding. I saw that my sense of urgency stemmed not from certainty, but from fear. Fear, baby. We're going to talk about fear. I discovered that my only honest course of action was to turn my fear and my love over to the care of my higher power. I could no longer pretend to know what was best. Today's reminder: I am not a rocket scientist, a philosopher, or a wizard. Even if I were all three, I would still find myself looking off the edge of my understanding into a vast unknown. As I recognize my own limitations, I am more grateful than ever for a higher power who is free from such restrictions. Time will change and even reverse many of your present opinions. Refrain, therefore, a while from setting yourself up as a judge of the highest matters. So, we're talking about fear, baby. So, basically, this person, the reason why they were tripping and they were pushing their sister to get a different treatment was because they were afraid they were going to lose their sister to the tumor, to the cancer, right? I think that was what it was, cancer. And so, do you guys know what fear stands for? Fear can stand for two different things. It can stand for fuck everything and run. Or it can stand for face everything and rise. Okay? I like to say that it stands for face everything and rise. But when I was in my active addiction, honey, it meant fuck everything and run. And when I first got sober, it meant that too. Because I struggled so much. One of the things that I struggled with the most with fear was when my husband was getting sober. I was so afraid that he was, I still am. I still struggle with fear. I still struggle with it. I still think in my mind, what if he relapses? What if he dies? What if something bad happens? And that is fear. I'm living myself, I am living my life in fear instead of faith. Okay? I need to have faith that everything will be okay. You know what I mean? I know as long as I stay sober, everything is going to be all right in my life. Okay? I know that as long as I stay sober, I can overcome anything. It's when I start putting drugs and alcohol in my body that shit's going to go down south. Hey, Jennifer, thank you. That is when, yes, fear is definitely a character defect. Yes, happy birthday. Kebabistas. Happy birthday. If I pick up a drink or a drug, that's when my life becomes unmanageable, okay? For the longest time, you know, I thought that drugs and alcohol were making my life manageable. Can you believe that? I was actually thinking that they made me a better. I thought that drugs and alcohol made me smarter, faster, better, and stronger. Baby, let me just tell you, it does the opposite, okay? And that is the illusion. That is the illusion that drugs and alcohol gave me. They gave me this illusion that I was better when I was on them. I don't know how. You know, they trick you. That's what it is. Drugs and alcohol trick you at the beginning. Because I swear, y'all, my performance when I would work was better. But then you know what happens? Then the drugs take it back and they start turning on you. Okay? Let's say this. Kinder Ketamine says she was getting bullied. Okay, so she was using drugs and alcohol to escape her feelings around getting bullied. Okay? Yes, girl. So drugs made you feel better, right? And then what happened is the drugs turned on you. They stopped working. It stopped helping you escape the reality of everyone bullying on you, you know? Or what happens is we start getting so fucked up, then people start realizing it and calling us out on our bullshit, you know? That's what happened to me, is people started to realize what I was doing, you know? And they were seeing me go downhill so fast. You guys, I went downhill from the first time I started using drugs when I was 17. By the time I was like 22 or 23, I was in a world of trouble. I was really fucking up. And everyone in my life was saying, stop. You got to turn your life around. You got to change. But back then, I wasn't ready. And I didn't want to change. So I didn't have anyone that I could talk to back then that wasn't telling me, oh, Nicole, you need to stop getting high. You know, I wish I had someone there I could have talked to. And that's what I want to be for you guys. If you're someone who is in active addiction, I don't want you to feel like you can't talk to me. I want you to know you can come to me and I'll support you. Do I want you to be using? No. Am I going to turn my back on you because you're using? No. So I hope you guys enjoyed tonight's live stream. I've seen some new faces in here tonight. Let me go ahead and let y'all know what we do over here. So I go live every single night at 7:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. Okay? If you guys miss the live stream, I always upload the live streams onto my YouTube channel, which is Real Talk Recovery with Nicole. Thank you, Coco. I also have a Facebook group and I do recovery coaching. If you're interested in joining our Facebook group or doing recovery coaching, you can click the link in my bio of my TikTok and it'll take you to my YouTube, my Facebook, and my recovery coaching Patreon, okay? But if you just want to come and be a part of the live stream, you can find us here live every single night at 7:30. Tomorrow night, you better, ketamine, I'm holding you hostage. I'm holding you to that. Tomorrow night, Sober JoJo is going to come and tell her story. I know if you guys don't follow her, please go follow her account. It's Sober, S-O-B-E-R, JoJo, J-O-J-O. Super pretty girl, Puerto Rican, long, brown, curly hair, super sweet, real sweet girl. She overdosed a couple months ago and threw in the towel and finally decided to get sober. Yes, if you're in the UK, it's an hour. It's an hour from right now. So whatever time it is in the UK right now, an hour before that. Kimmy, oh yeah, girl, good job. I'm proud of you. The name of my YouTube channel is Real Talk Recovery with Nicole. Oh, Sober Jojo. Sober Jojo. Jojo. I do. I made a couple of videos about the huffing, remember? You guys, also, do any of you guys go all the way down to the bottom of my account and watch all my old videos? If y'all will do that and go comment on some of them. So, because I'm trying to get my old videos and put them into the categories that I have up on my account. Also, I made a new video today, and it was a POV video of someone calling you, one of your old using buddy calls you and wants to get high. What do you do? And so I made a video doing what I would do if somebody called me that was still getting high. So I'm trying to make more of those POV videos for y'all. Okay, was it? You liked it, Andrea? Thank you, girl. Yes, that's right, Renee. That's because you're feeling your feelings. So who was it the other day that said that? Axel said that. Axel was talking about how he's like really emotional lately, and it's because you're sober and you're actually feeling your feelings. You know what I'm saying? So that's totally normal, you guys. It's totally normal. If you're finding yourself like super depressed and shit, you need to find a fellowship of people that you can hang out with. I'm telling you guys, Axel, why don't you tell them too? If you are someone who is like struggling to stay sober and you're like isolating and you're all by yourself, I'm telling you, just being in like a group chat with other people that are sober will change your fucking life, man. It just makes you have people you can talk to that understand what you're going through. I'm telling you, it helped me so much. I know it helps other people. If you guys are all alone and you're like, just fucking start your own group chat. That's what we did. I started the Patreon group chat. And yeah, it really, 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 really helps you guys. And here's the thing. Why struggle alone? Why y'all be doing that to yourselves? Why are y'all torturing yourselves? You know, you don't have to be alone. Oh, you did, Tracy? Well, welcome to the squad, girl. Oh, that's awesome. We got a whole group, and that's like 10 of y'all now, which is amazing. I'm so happy that I can help you guys and that we can all be helping each other. Bottom line is, you guys, it helps me too. Okay, so don't let me get to lying to you. It helps me to help you. It helps me to be a part of the group too. Today I had a really bad headache and I was reading y'all's texts back and forth and I was just laughing. You know, then I watched that movie, Pray Away, about, you know, the religious people trying to make gay people pray their gay away, which honestly made me so upset. So upset. But anyway, I'm going to go snuggle up with that little chicken nugget over there. My husband's hair, he's been letting it grow out because I won't let him cut it. And it's so pretty and red. Look.
We ran Odie's blood work. I'm going to be honest here.
So, I love you guys. I'll see y'all tomorrow night at 7:30 p.m. Central Time with Sober JoJo to tell her story. Good night, you guys.